Hi everyone, Sandy here. Welcome to my second tutorial for Country Craft Creations using Graphic 45's beautiful Love Notes paper collection. Now this is going to be made from what I have left over from my first project that was a mini album. So I have in here this little box. I have my leftover chipboard pieces. And then I have a few of the FEMA journaling cards. Of course, I have some in my album that I could use if I need them. I don't think I will. I have a few stickers. May or may not use those because what we're going to be making is a secretary or writer's desk that will hold the album. So I have lots of scraps left over. Black cardstock, cream colored artisan cardstock, and some of the pattern papers here if I need something from that. And then I have papers left in the Patterns in Solid, the 12 by 12. I'm pretty sure I'm going to be using quite a bit of this in there. I used some in the album, but not all of this. So I have all these. Try to keep track of what I'm using. And then I have some of the pattern papers still that I can utilize. And of course, I'm going to use artisan cardstock. The black artisan cardstock, and I'm going to start out with 3. Because with this project, we're going to need to make structure hinges. Not my favorite, but with the shape of this box, it's going to be needed. So I'm going to set that aside. We need that first. And then, of course, you're going to need medium weight chipboard. And I use 7 full 12 by 12 sheets of this chipboard for mine. So I have already cut my pieces of chipboard, and then I'll go over that with you in just a second. Let's make our hinges first. So let's grab this scoreboard. This is a technique that works fairly well if you score straight. So I'm going to start, I have 3 sheets of paper here. I'm going to start with 2 to make these 1-inch hinges. Now this is kind of like a shortcut. Get that in there really good. Grab my stylus. And I'm going to score at every 1/2 inch. So your first one, of course, is at a 1/2 inch. Try to get it as straight as you can because it's got to go all the way down. Got this frame there. So I'll use my bigger one. Then at 1, 1 1/2, 2, 2 1/2, and so on. Just keep going. Every whole number and at every 1/2. Do this one real quick, and then I'll show you what you want to do to cut it. What this is a shortcut in getting all these 1-inch strips made that are scored in the middle at a 1/2 inch to help put this secretary writing desk together. 10, 10 1/2, 11. Last one at 11 1/2. Whoops, and I messed that one up a little bit right there. Okay, and my first one. Okay, so you have that all scored every 1/2 inch. Then take your trimmer. And you're going to, let's see if we're in here, line this up, and you're going to cut at every inch. So I'm using this one here on the far right of my trimmer. And that gives you a hinge, a 1-inch hinge strip that's already scored down the middle. So you're going to cut all of these the same way. Just line it up at the 1 inch. Make sure it's all straight and cut. Pretty easy. Makes it a whole lot easier. Now, also in this project, we're going to be using, of course, the art glitter glue And if you want on your hinges, you can use the 3/8 score tape. And you can get these all at countrycraftcreations.com. So I keep cutting these. And for starters, I'm going to make me 2 sheets of hinges. May end up needing 3, possibly 4 sheets. We'll see. I didn't calculate that. I don't want to cut up more than I need, but I want to make sure we have plenty to start with. So I'm going to keep doing this off camera and get all my hinges made. I have 2 sheets of 12x12 cardstock that I cut down into 1-inch strips, scored in the middle, and the 1-inch end. Just create all these structure hinges and finishing hinges. For this project, I'm using the craft chipboard because it's easier for you to see on camera. I did the album in black, but it's completely wrapped, so that doesn't matter. So this is fine for this. We're going to cut out of your chipboard 2 pieces that are 8x9 for the side of your box. For the back, you need 1 8x7. For the bottom of the box, you need one that's 9x7, and you need another 9x7, which will be the bottom of the box above the drawer that we're going to add in. For the top of the box, you need one that's 1.5x7. For the lid, I went ahead and cut it. May have to make some adjustments as we're creating this. One piece 7x8.5. If you want to wait and cut that later, that's fine. For the front of the box, one that is 2x7. Again, we might have to recut that so you can wait. The drawer, for the sides of the drawer, you need 2. They're 1 7/8 by 8 7/8. For the drawer front, 2 that are 1 7/8 by 6 7/8. All of this is going to be in the supply cutting guide PDF file that you can download and print off. The link will be in the bottom of the tutorial description. And for the drawer bottom, we need one that is 6 7/8 by 8 7/8. And then this is another piece you may want to wait until later to cut. I estimated mine to be 2x7 for the drawer faceplate. And I forgot to say that you are going to need some metal hinges. I have some in my stash that I will be using, and some brads. So this is mine. Whoops. Right here that I've got. I have lots in stash from teaching prior classes on making different projects. So you can shop online for different brads. Check your local hardware stores and see what you can find, not for brads, but for hinges. And then I like to use the small Tim Holtz brads. We'll need those later. So first, let's take the 2 8x9 pieces. Set everything else aside for now off the table. And I'm going to grab my trimmer. Now I have switched out my blade. This black one that I painted black is my chipboard one that I use on chipboard. And we need a ruler and a pencil for these. We're going to cut an angle. Now I want this to be 1.5 at the top. So I'm going to put a tick mark. Lay my ruler down. In frame here where you can see. Put a tick mark. Make sure it's nice and straight at 1.5. Okay. I'm going to do it on both pieces. Because we want a slant on our writing desk box. One and a half on this one. And then on the bottom, I'm just looking at my diagram that I sketched off. From this part here, we want it 4.5. From the bottom edge, mark it at 4.5. Both pieces the same. 4.5. Okay. Now then, let's take that trimmer on these pieces, and you're going to line this up from the tick mark to tick mark. So you got to kind of move it down and make sure that pencil mark on the edge is where your cutter is going to go. So I'm going to look at mine. On this you have a little wire inside that you can look to see where the cuts are going to go. Move my blade out of the way so I can see. Okay, hold that down really good, and you're going to cut. Now we have to cut both sides. So I'm just going to fold this so that I can kind of see. Make sure we're cutting right where it needs to be. So that is the angle cut of your secretary writer desk. So let me trim this right off where it had a little hangover. So we're going to do the same thing with this one. So I'm going to line up that pencil mark that's on the edge. Good cut. Let's see, make sure they're the same. Oops. That won't work. Got to turn it over. Okay. Let's see if I can see it. And I'm going to use this one because I do want to make sure they're correct. Okay, line these up. And double check. Okay, so there's the side, the slanted side, so we can put the trimmer away. I'll switch out my blade again because we shouldn't need to cut any more on the chipboard. So the next thing you need to do is to take these hinges, fold and burnish them all in half. It's just as easy. Go ahead and get them all done right now. If you're going to use score tape, you could go ahead and put a strip of 3/8 on each side, but just on one side of a hinge, not on both. So if you were putting tape on, you'd put it here and here. And I'm thinking about using glue because it's a little quicker. Don't have to pull the backing off. So we'll see. So I'm going to go ahead and do this off camera. Just fold and burnish each hinge really well. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to use hinges to put the bottom, one of the 9x7 bottom pieces, and the two angled sides together. Now you're not going to be using all these as 12 inches. You're going to actually be cutting them. So if you want to cut them with your trimmer, so you're going to need two right now that are 9 inches. So just go ahead and cut those and then save the short ones. You might need them later. I'm going to line it up at 9. Give it a cut. Or if you just want to hold these up to your piece and cut with your scissors, whichever you want to do. I'm just showing you the most accurate way. And just set those little ones aside. So we have two that are 9 inch. And we're going to take one of these and we're going to attach this right into that hinge, just like that. So the long edge of your side is going to fit into that score line. So again, if you're using the score tape, you would peel one side off, the backing, attach it down. And like I said, I think for speed, I'm going to go ahead and temp this with glue. So here we go. So this is going to fit right down in there. Okay, there we go. Do this other one. I'm going to hold it up like this. Line it up on the ends, get it in that fold, and burnish down. So there's those two. So I'm going to turn it around. And now this is going to fit right in. So you hold this up, and you're going to glue this bottom into that hinge. Make sure your chipboard's lining up. Go. And now when you let it drop down, you're going to have a little bit of a gap, and that's okay. That's what you really want. Okay. Same for this side. Hold this up and fit that in and line those chipboard pieces up and make sure it goes all the way in to your fold here. Turn it over and burnish. So now we have these attached like this. Stand this up. This is our top. Got a little bit overhang right here. I'm going to trim that off. That's the, oops, this way. This is the front. This is the bottom. This is top. So it's not that tall. So that's the way it's going to look. Okay, so now we're ready to put the back on. So you're going to want to make this match up this piece here. So let's trim this down. Like I said, you can lay this on here, line it up. You can either use your trimmer and cut a, I believe it's a 7-inch piece, or you can just take your scissor and cut that off. So yes, this would be the 7-inch size where you want the hinge right now. Okay, so now it's going to attach right in there. So let's put the glue on. Slide this under. Make sure you line up the edges here and here of your chipboard. And stand it up. Burnish that down right in there. Hold it, flip it over, burnish, and wipe off any excess glue. Now then, when we're patterning, we don't have to cover this chipboard part here with any cardstock. We're going to use our decorative papers, and we will be patterning the back and the sides and covering up and leaving a margin so you have black that you can see. So this is the inside here, see your gaps. This is going to come up like this, and like this to make that box. So we need to put cardstock hinges right here on the edges. And these are also going to be, actually they're going to be the 8-inch length. May not need these short ones, but we're going to keep them just in case. So I want this the same, cut the same. Okay, there's those. Now then we're going to attach to the back side first. So we'll use just 1/2 of the hinge on the inside, put the adhesive on the inside of the, so that the fold is on the outside edge. So you bring this up, and we're going to attach that right there along that fold line. And if it sticks out a little bit, we'll trim that off, because that's going to be covered too. You just want to make sure it's flush with that chipboard right there. Oops. Okay, let's put the other one on the other side. You know, assembling these with the hinges is not that hard. I think it's just the cutting and scoring of the little hinge pieces. But if you use that full-size trick and do them all at once, it makes it go a lot faster. Oops. Okay, now we pull this around. We're ready to pull it together. And what I want you to do is put some glue in these gaps. And of course, glue. Let's work with one side first. Pull this one up and this one in. Line them up and bring your hinge over. Now this is where score tape can make it a little easier, because you've got to burnish this to make sure it sticks. And you've got to hold hold your chipboard right there in that corner. Add a little more glue on this one seam here and on the hinge. Up, bring your hinge over, and burnish really well. So this one is a little bit long here, so we definitely need to trim those off. Okay, now we got to reinforce it. So we're going to put hinges. This time the glue is going to go where it's folded, so that it goes into a V like that. You're going to want to put a hinge on both long sides of the back, along all 3 edges of the bottom. So I'm just dry fitting that in there, and I'm just going to make a cut right there. So I'm going to put glue again in that seam where it's connected together. Let me turn this so you can see it. It might be easier upside down here. So put your glue along that seam where that hinge is going to sit in. Put glue on both sides of your folded hinge. So this fits right in here on the bottom edge. Make sure the fold of that hinge goes right in to the fold of the box. Turn it so I can burnish both sides. Do one side, flip it, and burnish the other. Just like that. So we'll do this other side right here. Put the glue, let's cut our hinge first. I'll line my hinge up in here, flush down to the bottom, and just cut it off right here. Okay, glue in the seam line inside the box. So that hinge is going to go in. Glue on both sides. Of your hinge so that the fold is right here. So just stick that in and then I'll show you. Let's burnish it. Both sides. Okay. So there's the back. Inside. And if your hinges are a little long here on the outside, right here at the top, just trim them off a little bit. Okay, now we need a hinge back here in the back. And it's going to be the width of this part right here. So, what is that? 7 inch. So I'm going to just cut those on the trimmer. Go ahead and cut 2 that are 7 inch because you need one here at the front. So I'm going to open this up and cut me 2 that are 7 inches long. Okay. Okay, again, on the inside in here, put a line of glue along the seam. Glue on both sides of your hinge on the outer part. Because you want the fold of your hinge to go right up against that edge inside of the box. Now, I should have dry fitted it and made sure that it fit good, but I think it's going to work out just fine. Sometimes you need it a little shorter than the full 7 inch. But I'm burnishing it in. Flip it and burnish the other side. So this makes your box so much more sturdy. So there it is like that. We're going to do 2 here on the sides. Need 2 of these. Again, glue in the seam, even over that hinge that you just put in. here, push it in. The other side now, the glue in the seam. Glue on the hinge. And stick that one in too. Go right there. Oops, had too much glue there. Okay. Okay, so there's the hinges on the inside, all that done. So now we need to put our top on, and that is the 1.5 by 7, just like that. So we need a 7-inch hinge. Trim that. Save this one here. I'm going to grab some of these shorter ones, and we need 2 that are 1.5. So I'm going to lay that right there. Cut that one down. And one more for the other end. And before we attach that down, let's cut another 7-inch to finish this edge. Make sure it's lined up. And we're going to go ahead and attach that down right now. I'm going to put glue on 1/2. Put it on here on one side, one long side. It's just much easier to do this before it's in than it is to do it later. So then glue on the other side. And fold it over. And burnish. So that gives us the finished edge for this. Now this is going to attach up here. So let's attach one side of this hinge to the back side on the long side. Just like we did the other. Just going to attach it right along that fold line. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to put these little short ones on. Just on one side. Now make sure that it's going the same, attach the same side as this one you put on, just put on. and your other one. So you have these sticking out. I'm going to redo that one. I didn't have it quite long enough. For some reason I didn't have quite long enough and some chipboard was showing, so I'm going to redo that one. Right there. Okay. Attach it down and then I will trim it off. Okay, there we go. So this is going to fit right up here. So I'm going to go ahead and attach these. And I'm going to put glue right in the seam here along the chipboard. Glue on the hinges. And the bottom edge, the bottom side. Flip this over. We're going to line this up. Here I need to trim down a little bit. Make sure it fits right along. Get this hinge on there good. Bring this one over. Put your hand inside so that you can burnish it. It's a little hard to push it down. And then if you have a little spot or something where the chipboard's showing still, then you can take a black marker, Sharpie, and touch that in. Even though I recut mine, it still kind of shows right there. I don't want that little dab of chipboard showing. There we go. Okay, so there's the top of it right there. We can go ahead and finish these edges here by taking this chipboard piece. But you know, first I think we want to put some inside hinges. So I'm going to cut this down just a little bit below the 7-inch size, so like about 6 7/8. Cut a hinge down to 6 7/8 for the inside, just to give it support. And then you need the little 1/2-inch ones. Go ahead and just cut those right now. Just slightly under a 1/2 inch. 1 1/2 inch, sorry. Just a tiny bit, so they don't stick out. So grab the box. And right here, dry fit it to make sure that it's not going to be sticking out too long. So we're going to put that inside just like we did the others. So let's put a line of glue along the seam of the box on the front, or actually the top of it. And then our glue on the hinge. And we slip that in there and burnish both sides. Okay. So now we're going to put these little short ones in. Sorry that you can't see it all in here. This is going to go here on this side, so I'm just going to dry fit. And yes, they need trimmed off just a little bit. These are important to have to add strength to that seam. So again, put glue in that seam there and on both sides of your hinges. And the other side. And I'm just burnishing both sides of the hinge in. Okay, so let's see if you can see right in there. Got the corners, and the whole inside is reinforced. And this is the top of our box. This is going to get a little tricky, the camera here. So now we're ready to finish these edges. So I'm going to go ahead and do these short ones. Let's grab a short piece here and trim that. So you're going to fit that on there, and you're going to trim I'm going to open it up. Maybe use a pencil to mark that angle. That one. So you cut this angle, you just double check your, and then if you have to retrim it some, you can. So I'm going to go ahead and put this on. I'm going to put glue in the center and then on both sides. And this is to finish the edge of our box. So make sure you burnish it down and make sure it's right up against that cut of the chipboard. Let's see, it's still sticking up a little bit here, so now I can actually see to trim it a little bit. Okay, right there. Now the other side. You know what, it's easier if you just push this on where it needs to go, and then fold along that to see where you're going to cut. So that should do it right there, pretty close. Okay. Glue in the center of the hinge, and then on the hinges on both sides. And then put this on all the way up and burnish. Make sure it's flush on the top, right here on the edge. Okay, so now we need one on each side and then one on this bottom. I'm going to cut this a little bit longer. I'm bringing it up over the one here because I'm going to cut that at an angle after I attach one side. So I'm bringing it down. I'm going to get the cut. Right there. So I'm going to attach to the outer edge first. Bring this up as far as, make sure that it joins so that it's covering, it's attaching to that one. We're only putting the one side on right now. Right here at the top corner. Okay. And so then I'll look at this one, and if you need to, just do a little bit of an angle cut to that point so that it lays down in there. So if you can see that's slightly angled. Now go ahead and put your glue on your hinge. Fold that in and burnish. Okay, and then down here it extends a little bit, so we're just going to trim that off. Just like that. Okay, so that's one side. And now we need to do the other.